Imagine you're building a wall. You're building this wall out of bricks and you're laying each brick down very carefully and applying the cement mortar in between each one. At the end of a hard day's work, you've built this massive wall and it looks pretty good. But then as you look a bit more closely, you notice that there's a couple of bricks that quite aren't aligned correctly. And you get this overwhelming sense of frustration and you just want to knock the wall down again and start from scratch because it's not perfect. Perhaps you can relate to this concept of perfection or not having done things correctly. What I'd like to suggest is that you take a step back and observe this wall with a slightly different perspective and consider all the bricks that actually are in the correct place and look quite nice. And perhaps maybe you don't even notice those two misaligned bricks in this wall that you've created. Why am I sharing this idea with you today? Well, it's something that's come up for me recently where people that I've spoken to have talked about a specific event or time in their life when perhaps a negative comment was made or something was said to them or they did something and it was a negative experience. And they've been dwelling on this situation over and over and over again in their mind. They can't seem to let it go. And I suggested this story to them as a way to change their perspective of what they've been thinking and how, maybe these one or two statements from this person weren't actually the most important part of their interaction. And that perhaps there was many other situations where this person spoke to them in a loving and kind way. And they should perhaps try to look at the bigger picture and see that the balance of that equation was many, many more moments of positive interaction rather than those few negative interactions. And this can happen in any part of our life. Perhaps, we dwell on the negative thoughts or the negative experiences that we have, and we start to focus on them and drill down into them and hold on to them really tightly, when in fact, all we need to do is to try and take a step back and look at things from a bigger perspective and see that it's all just one small part of a bigger, more beautiful picture. Having negative thoughts and trying to deal and manage them is challenging. And I would suggest that if you do suffer from these experiences of negative thinking, then you do get some professional help. But you can help yourself as well. And I would like to suggest a couple of ways that you could do that. So firstly, if you find yourself in a negative spiral about thoughts or things that are going on, then take a moment to pause. Acknowledge, I'm having this negative thought. And rather than sort of try and dissect why you might be having that thought, I want you to pause and then think about a positive experience that you've had. Now, this can be really challenging in those deep, dark depths of despair, so go lightly on yourself. But if you can, think of one positive interaction that you've had either today, yesterday, the last week, the last year. It could have been 20 years ago as well. Try and think of one positive thing, and if you can, write it down in a journal. And then perhaps you might be able to think of another positive interaction or experience that you've had. Now, once you've got a few of these on a page, you can keep a record of them. And whenever you do get into another negative spiral, you can go back to your journal and open it up and read about those positive experiences that you've had in the past. I would recommend that you make this a daily practice if you can. And it's a great way to keep a record and have on hand experiences that you can refer back to boost you up and to create an interruption in those negative thoughts that you might be happening. So they're my thoughts for today. I hope they're useful and I look forward to seeing you in another video soon.